Good evening and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. We continue with our focus on economy right now, viewers. Now, here on Mirror Now, we've constantly been talking about the state of the economic affairs in our country, not just during the pandemic times, but even before that. And obviously, coronavirus has just had a further damaging effect on the economy of our country. Obviously, because of a lockdown, because of the entire country's economic activity coming to a standstill, we are now staring at a mammoth task of restarting the growth engine, of reviving India in the post-lockdown era, whichever way, whatever the final contours are of that restriction after May 3rd. And so as part of our series of Indian Revival Mission, tonight we have a special guest joining us. Now, let me just set the context here for you, just for today itself, the kind of news that we've actually been seeing. Now, as some of you may know, viewers, this is the earnings season. This is usually when various companies come out with the performance details for the previous quarter gone by. Right now, all the big giants are talking about their performance for the January to March 2020 period, and things are not looking good. Now remember, this is the pre-corona period that we are talking about. I just want to take you through what Reliance Industries, one of the most valuable companies of our country right now, their profit went down 39% on a year-on-year basis for the January to March period. Reliance Industries has now, for specific segments, announced salary cuts. As they look to save jobs, they have had to announce salary cut. Mukesh Ambani himself will let go of his entire compensation. Apart from that, the giant in fast-moving consumer goods, the biggest seller from our soaps to shampoos and tea leaves, Hindustan Unilever, their results came out today. They've seen a drop of over 3% in their consolidated profit. The sales have gone down drastically. Now, these are your daily use items and a company that's the biggest company in that sector. Tech Mahindra, from the other sector, their results came out, a 29% year-on-year fall in their consolidated profit. And Adani Power, from a fourth sector, consolidated net loss of 1,300 crore for the March quarter. Some of the numbers that I just wanted to put out there, we've been telling you every day how various agencies have predicted that this year now, because of the corona impact, we're absolutely not going to see any growth, next to zero. You know, some say maybe 0.3%, some say, okay, maybe 1%. That's roughly as much as anybody is giving us and pegging our growth as. So what do we do? What's the way forward from here? Let's say good evening to Mr. Arvind Panagriya, joining us right now, top economist with us this evening. Mr. Panagriya, you have spoken in the last few days about, gradually opening up the economy. That's largely the conversation we, have been having with various experts as well. But how does one go about it post May 3rd? What sectors should get priority? What help should be given from the government? Just where do we start?
Okay, so I think we are in a position to now open up about 3/4 of our districts. These include the green districts and they include also the orange districts. Largely, in these districts, the number of cases have been either 0 or less than 15. So this is something that local administrations can actually handle, monitor every single case locally. And so I think the movement of the people can be opened up both within districts as well as between districts, as long as we are only moving between green and orange districts. So that's number one. Number two, I think the government has today opened up the transportation, which is a very good thing. The MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, has issued guidelines to the states that they should start letting the trucks, etc., move uninterrupted. So that's a very good thing. I also think in terms of delivery of the delivery online, we should really now open up the non-essential projects as well. In the red districts, what we ought to do is, for now, I think you will have to maintain perhaps the lockdown as it currently exists for maybe another couple of weeks. But those 2 weeks ought to be used to quickly move to the South Korea model, whereby you shift to a system of heavy testing, contact tracing, isolation of the patient, and so forth. But then we should really begin to move in red districts also to start opening them up to more and more normal economic activity. So that would be sort of my rough plan. But again, the situation evolves. Corona has been very unpredictable. So anything we do has to be calibrated as we go. We should have some sort of broad plan, but within that broad plan, we ought to be willing to be ready to make any adjustments as demanded by the situation.
Mr. Panagria, one big issue that's got everybody concerned is the issue of the daily wage workers, the laborers who are largely migrants. And while for the past 1 month the state governments have attempted to take care of them, give them food and shelter, the growing restlessness amongst these lakhs of migrant workers has now pushed the governments to come up with a plan and devise a plan to enable them to go back to their homes. Now, while this is being done right now, what could be the possible future impact of that on our economic activity? Because say 3 weeks or 2 weeks from now, we decide to open up some of our manufacturing industries in green zones, some orange zones as well. If a textile industry has to open in Gujarat, there are not going to be any people because these people would have gone back. Perhaps they will be stranded in places from where they cannot again travel back so quickly. What should we then be prepared for?
Well, first of all, as far as I see, this economic activity will take a little while to come to the full capacity. I'm not familiar how large, and nobody has the numbers really. How large is this migrant population as a proportion of the total workforce? As long as, let's say, my guess is that it's probably not more than 5 to 10% of the total workforce. Even that probably is an overstatement. So I think still for large part, we do have the workforce which is resident and not migrant. And certainly, if shortages appear, for at least short periods of time, one can run double shifts. People can be allowed to work rather than 8 hours, 10 hours a day, maybe even 12, 13 hours a day. And under certain situations, it can be done. All of us do work longer than 8 hours. Many of us, I shouldn't say all of us, but many of us do work for longer than 8 hours on a regular basis. So it's something that's doable. I won't worry too much about that aspect really. If ultimately we are able to restore normalcy to the movement of people, then I think eventually migrant workers will come back.
Okay, so here is the other thing. While the central government is looking largely at a kind of devising a plan where some of the districts can open up which are largely unaffected from COVID post May 3rd, few of the states have already decided to not do that at all. For example, Telangana has extended the lockdown in a blanket manner till May 7th at least. Punjab has already extended for 2 more weeks beyond May 3rd. And one gets a sense that perhaps some of these states are also doing it just to be over precautious and not allow any kind of movement and activity. Now, in such a scenario, if individual states begin to not allow activity beyond May 3rd, then what kind of an impact would that further have on our economy, Mr. Panagria?
So, I think some of the states are being overly cautious. I think places like Telangana, they can certainly open up, parts of Punjab as well. But in the end, it is a call by the chief ministers, and that's what we have to go by. My guess is that if enough districts are opened up and enough states open up their districts that are unaffected or affected minimally, like 15 cases or so, it will be another matter of a week or 10 days that those who choose not to open up right now will open up. I think chief ministers are being overly cautious. Maybe they want to see some sort of experience come through in the states that decide to open up. And for the states that open up also, it is going to be a learning experience. They will need to also learn, how situation evolves once they open it up, right? So we all, the country as a whole needs to learn. States need to learn, and those states who don't open up right away also need to learn from whatever experience that unfolds in post May 3rd India. So I think it is okay, given the gravity of the situation. States should move according to their comfort level, and let's just move forward and as much as we can, and see what how the reality unfolds.
Now, the Indian government seems to have adopted an approach to say that we are going to even provide support and bring in, relief measures or structural reforms, whatever steps need to be taken in a graded manner. And so we haven't seen, a big bang stimulus package or even a big set of announcements come at one go. But do you believe, Mr. Panagria, that now post May 3rd, as we begin to restart some amount of economic activity, the government will need to step up on the support it provides and the relief measures that it needs to announce?
I personally think that the relief is far more important while the situation, while the economy has been under lockdown, and that has been done, at least in terms of provision of food, minimal amount of cash and shelter. Now, as we go forward, I think, we should also return to normalcy in terms of relief packages. And so, in a way, the government's announcement was covering the affected population up to the end of June. And that was a wise thing. And if things move normally, then I think we return to our normal operations of social welfare program or support programs, same social spending. So, you've got NREGA going on, you've got the Food Security Act going on. So whatever else that we do normally, we ought to try to return to the normalcy. Where I think more intervention might be required is on the side of the RBI and the banks. I think as the economy starts up, the corporations, MSMEs, all our enterprises, they are going to need access to liquidity. And that, I think, is the most important concern right now. There has been some issue with the RBI has moved in very aggressively to provide liquidity, but that's not translating in terms of the banks lending money to the borrowers. And I think there is some bottlenecks to be cleaned up there. There may be some credit guarantees and so forth that the government needs to introduce, at least for some limited time period, so that the banks feel confident and they actually can translate the intentions of the central bank, meaning Reserve Bank of India, into reality.
Well, Mr. Panagria, I appreciate you joining us tonight, and you're absolutely right. The steps taken by the RBI haven't worked much on ground because the banks are still hesitant, and something that the RBI and government both are aware of. It remains to be seen what can be done to resolve that situation, because there are companies and smaller businesses, even bigger ones, that are quickly running out of cash in hand and liquidity and need help on an urgent basis. Thank you, Mr. Arvind Panagria, for joining us. Well, welcome back. Well, let's put the spotlight on one of the biggest talking points that has been there in this country, and a big relief to lakhs of laborers and daily wage workers, essentially migrants who are thousands of kilometers away from their hometowns and their families. The government, the central government, has finally decided to come up with a comprehensive set of guidelines as to how they will be allowed to go back home. Now, this is going to be a mammoth task, viewers. Of course, a few of the states have already been sending buses to their neighboring states and getting back, these workers in hundreds and 200s in these buses. But that's been at a smaller individual level. We are now looking at an exercise that would essentially mean that thousands of these people will move from one part of the country to the other in times of a lockdown and a pandemic. Now, this is what the government MHA order says, that the states and the union territories will have to designate nodal authorities that they will have to develop a standard protocol for this entire movement. The states will have to coordinate for the interstate movement. If there are people going from Maharashtra to Bihar, the coordination has to happen for the entire route and the states that come in between. There will be screenings of people who have to travel. Asymptomatic people will be allowed to move first. Sanitized buses have to be used for travel of groups, and of course social distancing has to be maintained even at that point of time. A big task and challenge as far as implementation is concerned. Upon arriving, these people will have to be assessed by the local authorities at that point, and as is in the case for most of the states, they will have to be put into quarantine before they are allowed to go home. Regular monitoring of health will also happen through the government app, which is the Arogya Setu app. Now, basis this, now individual states have begun to work on their own plan, whether it is to send migrants back home or to get people from other states back to their home states. For example, Maharashtra is also working on a plan for an interstate bus transport. Madhya Pradesh has already, started to do it on a smaller basis. They've actually managed to get about 20,000 migrants back already. Bihar has been seeking special trains for these migrants, which is something now that the center is looking to, work upon and issue very shortly. Rajasthan has started a registration process, which is a little complicated if you're expecting migrants to register online somewhere because they want to come back home to Rajasthan. Karnataka is allowing one-time interstate movement, which means that you can't keep traveling back and forth. This window will be only for a specific time. Telangana has also appointed nodal officers for migrant workers. And Kerala also wants trains because obviously those who are down south in the state of Kerala will be going, to other states, not just to the neighboring southern states, but some will have to travel back to Madhya Pradesh, to Bihar, all the way up to West Bengal. So we decided that tonight, we'll have panelists who can give us a sense of how different states are working towards this. This is going to be a joint exercise and will involve a lot of coordination and planning for it to be successfully done. So let's say good evening to Shri Shivaram Hebbar. He is the Minister of Labour Development for the government of Karnataka, joining us right now. I've also got Mr. Rajiv Ranjan. He's the spokesperson for the JDU to give us insights on how Bihar wants to do this. But first up, I want to go across to Mr. Ashok Chavan, Cabinet Minister for Public Works Department, and of course, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, joining us right now. Mr. Chavan, Maharashtra as a state also has a huge amount of this migrant population, and we've been, repeatedly taking up this issue with the center. What's going to be, the plan like? How do we ensure that while keeping safety in mind, we can send thousands of these migrants back to their home villages?
See, this problem has been there right from day one when on 22nd March, the lockdown was announced, and subsequently throughout the country, the lockdown came into existence. And this was a sudden sort of a move without taking the states into confidence, which has resulted into a big problem all over the country. The problem is now that we have not only migrant workers, we have students, we have people working all over the country in various states, various districts. So the sudden lockdown has not even in districts, even abroad, people who have been Indian people, who are students who are in Mauritius, who are in Ukraine. So the large number of people from every state, every district have been at various places. And when the sudden lockdown was imposed, there has been a difficult situation all over. We have been trying to pacify them, tell them that we will definitely make arrangements, but please hold for some time, because social distancing, then their place of travel from where they are coming to their home state, we don't know the conditions under which they are coming to the respective states, whether they have been infected. All these issues posed a big question. Now, coming to the recent order which has been issued day before yesterday by the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Home Secretary has issued some guidelines. Adhering to these guidelines, Maharashtra also has, as the various collectors of the districts have been appointed as nodal officers. And in turn, we have been asked to coordinate with the respective states. Various states have their people working in Maharashtra. Maharashtra also has a large number of people working outside, workers, migrant workers, students, tourists. On various accounts, these people have been staying in various states. Now, a system is being developed wherein both the respective states have a perfect understanding. They deport their our people who are in their states, we send back their people in their respective states. Buses arrangements or whatever mode of transport is required, of course, buses or most of them will be arranged by the respective states for their own students or people who want to come back. And of course, whoever before sending, therefore there should be medical checkups after being alighting in their respective district, various states. On arrival, they should definitely be checked whether they are health-wise they are okay, whether they are not suffering from any sort of corona or otherwise any other ailment. And these tests need to be carried out because one doesn't know what is ultimately coming into the respective states. So I think these sort of understanding between the various states have to be carefully worked out. Is a very important situation. And moreover, you have seen the situation in Mumbai, in Bandra, where a large number of people suddenly gathered on the rumor that the trains have started. I think online bookings of trains also, I think the Railway Ministry is working on a program of the arranging trains is what we are hearing from the media. We are not very sure about it. Orders have not formally been issued. But as of now, what we are hearing is that the railways are working on some sort of arrangements. And at the same time, online bookings of with the train or buses or otherwise should be worked out in such a way that only people with confirmed reservations only should go to the respective bus stations or railway stations, and from there only those people will be allowed to alight the train or the bus service as expected. Otherwise, there's going to be chaos. So many people wanting to go back, but all of them suddenly cannot go back to their own districts in a single day. It has to be a program well planned in advance, and the district authorities also in conversation with each other to see that this operation is done very carefully, making all the necessary arrangements for these people.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chauhan. Please to stay on with me. Let me go across to Shivaram Hebbar as well. Mr. Hebbar, ये एक बड़ी problem होने वाली है. This will be a big problem because everybody has been wanting to go home. एक महीने से सब इंतज़ार में है कि कब उन्हें घर जाने को मिलेगा, और अब क्योंकि ये प्लान बना है, ये डेंजर हो सकता है कि सब भीड़ इकट्ठा हो जाए, जमा हो जाए. वहाँ सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग मेंटेन करना बहुत ज़रूरी होगा जब लोगों को, ये माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स को बसेस में या ट्रेन्स में बैठा के घर भेजा जाएगा.
मैडम नमस्कार, कर्नाटका लेबर मिनिस्टर में बात कर रही हूँ. जो कर्नाटका लेबर जो बाहर जाने वाली है, माइग्रेट लेबर बहुत सारे लोग उत्तर प्रदेश, मध्य प्रदेश, हिमाचल प्रदेश, राजस्थान, ओडिशा और मणिपुर और पश्चिम बंगाल का लोग जो है, उसका हम लोग तो डाटा अभी रेडी कर रहे हैं. 4 IAS ऑफिसर्स को आज हम नियुक्त किया है ये काम के लिए. उसका डाटा फिक्स होने के बाद में उसको कैसे ले जाना है, किधर किधर जाना है, कैसा जाना है, इसके लिए तुरंत 1-2 दिन में हमारा पट्टी सब रेडी हो जाएगा. हेलो.
लेकिन जिनको दूर भेजना है हेब्बार जी, जो दूर के स्टेट्स में होंगे, उत्तर प्रदेश में या बिहार में रहना है, वो बसों में तो जा नहीं सकते, इतनी दूर कैसे होगा? तो क्या आप केंद्रीय सरकार से बात कर रहे हैं कि उनके लिए ट्रेन्स अरेंज कराई जाए? उतनी दूर उनको कैसे भेजा जाएगा?
आज का कैबिनेट मीटिंग में वो फैसले हो गया. ये बहुत दूर नॉर्दर्न कर्नाटका, नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में बस में जाने के लिए बहुत बोझ लगेगा. कम से कम 2000-2500 का किलोमीटर बन जाएगा. और भी एक बस में हम ओनली 24 सीट उतना ही डालना है, 1/3 सीट. इसका बहुत एक्सपेंडिचर भी बढ़ेगा और जाने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. इसके लिए कर्नाटक सरकार भी कोशिश चल रही है, केंद्र सरकार से बात करके ट्रेन का बंदोबस्त हो गए तो आने के लिए ये होता है, उधर से आने के लिए जाने के लिए भी बहुत होता है. इसके लिए कर्नाटक गवर्नमेंट इसका चिंता कर रही है. इसके लिए 4 IAS ऑफिसर को नियुक्त किया है. कैसा हो सकता है, किधर किधर कितना कितना आदमी जाना ही है, उसको कैसा बंदोबस्त करना, कल फैसला हो जाएगा.
जी हेब्बार जी, इनफैक्ट मैं राजीव रंजन से भी यही सवाल पूछना चाहूँगी. राजीव रंजन, बिहार की जो सरकार है वो हमेशा से ये कहते आए हैं कि केंद्रीय सरकार को एक प्लान बनाना पड़ेगा, ट्रेन्स अरेंज करवानी पड़ेंगी, या उनको माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स को ऐसे घर नहीं आने दिया जा सकता. क्या अब आपकी सरकार तैयार है कि जब ये इतने सारे बड़े नंबर में, इतनी बड़ी तादाद में लोग वापस अपने गांव आएंगे तो कैसे उनकी स्क्रीनिंग टेस्टिंग होगी, कैसे उनको घर भेजा जाएगा?
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो हम प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रति आभारी हैं कि बिहार ने गाइडलाइंस में बदलाव की बात कही थी और उसको केंद्र सरकार ने मान लिया। ताजा जो गाइडलाइंस है उसके हिसाब से राज्य सरकार ने आज नोडल ऑफिसर्स की नियुक्ति की है, जो जिन राज्यों में हमारे प्रवासी मजदूर रह रहे हैं उनको लाने के संबंध में, चाहे वो प्रवासी मजदूर हो, छात्र हो, पर्यटक हो या तीर्थयात्री हो, उन्हें लाने के संबंध में जो अरेंजमेंट्स हैं उनको वो कोऑर्डिनेट करेंगे और उसके हिसाब से चीजों को तय किया जाएगा। लेकिन बड़ा सवाल ये है कि अभी मैं अशोक चौहान साहब को भी सुन रहा था, हेबार साहब को भी सुन रहा था, ये एक बड़ी चुनौती है। बिहार के अब तक जो ऐप के हिसाब से, राज्य सरकार के ऐप के जरिए जो लोग रजिस्टर्ड हैं माइग्रेंट जो लेबरर्स, वो 25 लाख से ज्यादा हैं, जिनमें अगर उनको लाया जाए सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के नॉर्म्स का पालन करते हुए तो कम से कम 1,75,000 76,000 बसेस की जरूरत होगी। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि ज्यादातर स्टेट्स बिहार से काफी दूर हैं जहां हमारे माइग्रेंट लेबरर्स हैं, तो उनको लाने के लिए काफी लंबे समय तक बस में रहना पड़ेगा। उस पूरी अवधि के लिए उन्हें खाना ऐसा दिया जाए जो खराब नहीं हो। कई तरह की चुनौतियां हैं। फिर उनको वहां जिस स्टेट से वो निकलेंगे वहां उनको उनकी स्क्रीनिंग हो और उसके बाद बिहार के बॉर्डर पर फिर उनकी स्क्रीनिंग होने के बाद उनको अलग अलग 1,000 हम लोगों ने बिल्डिंग्स ईयरमार्क किए हैं, जिनमें हर ब्लॉक हेडक्वार्टर में हम लोग बनाएंगे क्वारंटीन सेंटर, जहां 21 दिनों का क्वारंटीन होगा सबका। तो ये एक आसान काम नहीं है और इसीलिए हमारी सरकार ने आज फॉर्मली सेंटर से आग्रह किया है कि स्पेशल ट्रेन चलाई जाए जो नॉन स्टॉप हो और जिसमें समय कम लगेगा, जिसमें सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग का पालन भी हो और लोग जल्द पहुंच सके। तो मुझे लगता है ये काफी एक बेहतर रास्ता हो सकता है। लेकिन मैं एक बात जरूर कहना चाहूंगा, अफरा तफरी की वजह और भी है। कई राज्यों में हमारे मजदूरों को जो उनके बकाये वेतन का भुगतान अगर हो जाता, उनको भोजन अगर समय पर राज्य सरकारों के द्वारा मिल गया होता तो शायद इतना भयावह दृश्य देश के सामने नहीं होता। हमारी ओर से लगातार कोशिशें हुई देश के अनेक शहरों में, जिन आप कह सकते हैं 9 स्टेट्स के 12 सिटीज में हम लोगों ने बिहार फाउंडेशन की तरफ से सेंटर्स चलाए, 55 सेंटर्स चलाए और उनके कैश ट्रांसफर्स भी 17,66,000 मजदूरों के अकाउंट में भेजे गए हैं। लेकिन अगर वहां ग्रीन और येलो जोन में इंडस्ट्रियल एक्टिविटी शुरू होता है तो ये विकल्प उनसे पूछा जा सकता है उनके बकाया भुगतान के साथ कि वो वहां अगर रहना चाहें तो रह सकते हैं। लेकिन जो लोग आएंगे उनकी संख्या बहुत बड़ी है और इतनी बड़ी संख्या में लोगों को लाने के लिए स्पेशल ट्रेन बेहद जरूरी होगा। बाकी जो इंतजाम है, सबके स्क्रीनिंग, सबका अरेंजमेंट करना, यहाँ क्वारंटाइन कराना, उसकी तैयारियों में राज्य सरकार लगी हुई है।
जी, क्योंकि कोई अंदाजा है राजीव रंजन जी कितने लोग वापस आएंगे बिहार के लिए ही? क्योंकि एक राज्य नहीं है, काफी राज्यों से अभी उनको वापस भेजा जाएगा और ये तो हजारों की तादाद में होंगे। कितने लोगों के लिए आपकी सरकार तैयारी कर रही है?
देखिए, हमारी तैयारी मैंने आपको बताया, 1000 क्वारंटीन सेंटर्स हम बना रहे हैं। पहले हम लोगों ने बाहर से आने वाले लोगों को पंचायत के स्तर पर ठहराया था, लेकिन अब इस पर काफी विजिल भी रखने की जरूरत होगी। उनको सब तरह की सहूलियतें देने के लिए मॉनिटरिंग भी बहुत जरूरी होगी और इसीलिए ये सेंटर सब ब्लॉक हेडक्वार्टर्स में होंगे। और जो तैयारी हमारी है वो, इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि 25 लाख लोगों ने तो रजिस्ट्रेशन कराया है। ये नंबर इससे ज्यादा हो सकता है, इसलिए कि बहुत सारे लोग तो रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं करा पाए होंगे और मैं मानता हूं कि वो लोग भी आना चाहते अगर होंगे। तो ये एक बड़ा नंबर है और इसको सॉर्ट आउट करने के लिए जिस राज्य में हमारे माइग्रेंट रह रहे हैं और हमारे राज्य में उनको आना है, कई राज्यों के बीच से होकर के आना है, इसमें सेंटर का भी रोल होगा और इन राज्यों का भी होगा जहां वो रह रहे हैं और जहां आ रहे हैं। तो कुल मिलाकर के ये एक कॉम्प्लेक्स इशू जरूर है, लेकिन 100 साल के बाद अगर दुनिया ने इतनी बड़ी विपत्ति को देखा है तो काफी हौसले के साथ इससे लड़ने की रणनीति पर हम काम कर रहे हैं और उम्मीद करते हैं कि अगर सब कुछ बेहतर तरीके से, बेहतर कोऑर्डिनेशन के साथ चला तो सब कुछ ठीक करने में कामयाबी मिलेगी।
Ji. Mr. Chavan, this is also a very important point, the journey that happens, because that will also require a lot of coordination between various states and the center. We have to cater for, where they halt, the food that they require on the way. I mean, because right now most states seem to be planning to send them home via buses. Now, if the journey is going to take over a day or even lesser actually, you would still require to ensure that they have food available on the highways and the state roads.
You see, I think all the three modes of transport, the railways, buses, and even air services need to be resumed for a limited period to send back all the migrant people who are in the various districts. Because once the online registration is complete, a complete assessment will be done as to what is because it is difficult to assess to how many people are stranded in the various. In my district of Maharashtra, Nanded alone, around 50,000 people have come back in the initial stages. When the lockdown was announced, that time only around 50,000 people have come back. The question is today, people in Mauritius, people in Ukraine, there are people who are abroad, that's one category. Then there are people who are stranded in various states of India. And then third category, inter-district within the state itself. The question is, I think that all three modes of transport need to be opened up for a limited period of time. That to air connectivity. We have got airports where airlines can be asked to operate. I think definitely that can be a quick mode of transport without the problem of feeding people on way or getting arrangements made on the way. So I think long distance air travel also is one of the best options. Secondly, definitely train is also one of the good options, and then by buses. So all three modes of transport, depending upon the distance of from where to where people want to travel, this has to be carefully worked out. The state nodal officers at the headquarters like Mumbai, we have the various IS officers, the chief secretary working on this day and night, and at the district level we have the collectors who are the nodal officers. So I think a perfect synchronization at various levels need to be chalked out well in advance. Then people only allowed to come to the various airports or bus stations or railway stations only in that appropriate number who have confirmed bookings, and then monitoring their movement. So this requires a gigantic task, a well calculative sort of approach wherein social distancing could be maintained, the law and order issues can also be taken care of, the police also will benefit from that because they will be able to provide the appropriate measures to see that there is no overcrowding at places, and this could be channelized very smoothly. So I think it's a gigantic task between various states who have to coordinate with the corresponding states from where they want to get their people.
But Mr. Chavan, I was just wondering, is an online registration a very difficult process for the segment of people that we are talking about? These are people living in shelter homes, barely managing to get food to eat. Now, how are they going to find a way to register themselves online? Who's going to even make them understand and aware about this option?
You see the entire state machinery. Today, at the rural level, we have online payments which are being received from the banks on the agricultural produces. People are registering themselves online for selling of their agricultural produces, the cotton and the various crops. So a system in Maharashtra at least, we have got a system where online registrations are being done for various activities. But at the same time, as you rightly pointed out, there are people who labor class or very poor people who have. So I think we have got officers at designated places. We have got the tahsildars, the talatis, the gram panchayat level officers. So it's a big network of the government machinery who is taking care of the entire operations. So this could be put to work wherever these problems are there, and people could be channelized. Yes.
No, so roughly, what's the timeline that we're looking at? When can we actually see the actual movement on ground?
No, see, because the only day before yesterday, these guidelines have been issued. I think at least 2 or 3 days, the states have already issued guidelines to the necessary district collectors to start working on this. I think in the next 2 or 3 days, things should be set in order so that these movements can take place in a very systematic manner. But without doing this, if we start doing in a very haphazard manner, it will be a big chaos throughout the entire country.
All right, very quickly, let me also ask Rajiv Ranjan this question. Rajiv Ranjan जी, क्या आपको लगता है कि एक महीना हम रुके, ये निर्णय पहले ही ले लेते तो अभी तक ये लोग वापस आ गए होते?
नहीं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है एक ऐसी स्थिति थी, असामान्य स्थिति आप कह सकती हैं, और असाधारण फैसले लिए गए, लेकिन फैसलों को अफरा तफरी में लेने के भी कई नुकसान हो सकते हैं। आप नांदेड़ का एक एग्जाम्पल है, चूंकि चौहान साहब की कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है, और वहां से आप अगर देखें तो पंजाब की सरकार ने अपोजिशन के प्रेशर में वहां बुलवा लिए लोगों को, और कई ऐसे जिले थे जो पूरी तरह से कोविड-19 फ्री थे, वहां भी केसेस वहां पॉजिटिव मिले। तो मुझे लगता है बहुत अफरा तफरी से ये एक मुश्किल वक्त है, इसको पूरी तरह से व्यवस्थित और संस्थागत प्रबंधन इसके लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। और मैं कुछ बातों से बहुत हद तक सहमत हूं कि ऑनलाइन जो रजिस्ट्रेशन का तरीका है, जो भी कैंप्स हैं जहां लोग रह रहे हैं, जहां सुविधाएं दी जा रही हैं, उन कैंप्स में भी ऑनलाइन रजिस्ट्रेशन के सेंटर्स बनाए जाएंगे अगर, तो उनको काफी मदद मिलेगी। इसलिए कि ये एक मुश्किल प्रक्रिया जरूर है। हमारे 25 लाख लोग अगर दर्ज हुए हैं, तो कई लोग इस प्रक्रिया में इसलिए शामिल नहीं हो पाए होंगे कि वो इस प्रक्रिया से अनभिज्ञ होंगे। तो इसकी जरूरत तो है, और देखिए थोड़ा धैर्य रखना पड़ेगा, और अपोजिशन को भी एक कंस्ट्रक्टिव अपोजिशन की भूमिका का निर्वाह करना पड़ेगा। अनावश्यक दबाव बनाने से कठिनाइयां होंगी। सरकार के साथ मिलकर जो जिस राज्य में है, इस मुश्किल वक्त में काम करना होगा।
आई थिंक वो सब राज्य सरकारों ने और केंद्र ने भी दिखाया है कि इस मुश्किल समय में हमें राजनीति अलग रख के, पॉलिटिक्स हैज टू बी केप्ट असाइड for these problems to be tackled. Thank you, Rajiv Ranjan ji. Thank you, Mr. Ashok Chavan and Mr. Hebbar, for joining us on this conversation. Viewers, now many of these migrant workers, these daily wage laborers, would have otherwise also perhaps gone home during this time. Around the harvest season and the summer season, you usually do see a large population of them go home and help out with the farming and the agricultural work. For a couple of months they stay and then they come back for work again. But what we are going to be witnessing right now is perhaps a much larger amount of people, huge numbers in groups moving from one part of the country to the other, a kind of movement that we've perhaps not seen in recent times. And so the governments can't just rest easy by saying, oh, our jobs are done, we got a plan made on paper, we got the buses or the trains arranged, and that's that. This will have to be seen to the last end point till these people reach their hometowns and villages. They're screened and quarantined and then allowed to go home. At every single point, care has to be maintained, not just from a social distancing point of view, but on a larger basis for health, for food, for travel and security, from every point of view. So let's hope that we are able to actually pull this off and enable these lakhs of people in them getting back to their hometowns. Completely out of time on this edition of the Urban Debate. Thank you for joining us.